So Sony had their second State of Play live stream last night, and I made a video, giving my thoughts and opinions on what they showed, so you can feel free to check that out if you're interested. But a conversation that has cropped up since this has happened, it kind of speaks to something a little bit bigger here that I've been meaning to talk about, and I wanted to take some time to talk about. And that conversation is regarding this idea that PlayStation gets a pass. That basically, if PlayStation does something that isn't that great, or they do something that would be considered disappointing or underwhelming or just flat out bad, that they get a pass. That people like me and many others just say, oh, it's okay, it's fine, because it's PlayStation. To whereas when Xbox does things, for example, like what they're doing recently with the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, aka the Xbox One Sat Edition, and many other things that they've been doing for a while now, that when I get really harsh on them and I make these videos where I seem to be ranting and raving and just going off and making it seem like they're the worst things in the world and whatever, it's because I'm a fanboy, right? Like, that's what people say. It's because I switch sides. I'm a Sony PlayStation fanboy now, and so I'm always going to champion everything they do, and I'm going to just crush everything Xbox does, even if it's not that big of a deal. And you know what? That's fine. I fully understand that the people who have this mentality and mindset, there's probably nothing I could say or do to get them out of it, and that's not why I'm having this conversation, really. I'm just putting this out here for anybody who maybe doesn't know why it is that gamers at this point in time, almost halfway through 2019, are willing to give PlayStation the benefit of the doubt. Why it's okay for not every single thing that PlayStation does to be on another level, and it doesn't have to be. Why we're not as harsh on them if they maybe make a mistake here and there. It should be obvious, but for some reason I still see a decent sized group of people still kind of harping on them and making it seem like we need to be getting on them, or that, like, for example, I need to be getting on PlayStation the same way I've been getting on Xbox. And I'm going to explain to you why that's actually not the case, why that doesn't need to happen, and why it probably won't ever need to happen, at least not anytime soon. So first we have to start with the reasons why PlayStation, I don't want to say gets a pass, because if I say PlayStation gets a pass, it makes it sound like that they could do some really dumb things and it's just okay. It's not. Like, here's the thing. Another recent example is I made this video basically making fun of the Xbox One Sat Edition and really just ranting on why I think this console's useless and terrible, shouldn't exist, and nobody should support it, and Microsoft just seems really dense for actually coming out here and going through with trying to sell this product. And a lot of people said to me, or at least some people did, oh, MBG, you're so quick to just, trash this console that Xbox wants to put out, but I didn't see you say, where's your video on the PlayStation 1 Classic? It's clearly a failure. And it's really funny to me because it's like, actually, I did make a video on that. These people, they say these things, but they don't take maybe 2 minutes out of their day to just look at my video history and see that I actually did call out Sony for this, because they deserve to be called out for it. I made a video expressing my frustration with the way they handled the PlayStation 1 Classic, why I think it wasn't really the greatest move in the world on their part. So not only am I pointing out here that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not making this video as like a defense video, I just have to point this out for people who aren't aware. But talking about the bigger picture here, the reason why gamers don't really freak out on Sony the same way they freak out on Xbox is because Sony has been doing so many things right throughout the entirety of this generation. They've been doing the most important thing that I have to keep reiterating here, because some people just don't seem to get it. They don't seem to understand what it is that me and many others are trying to convey, that they have delivered the games. They made a great gaming machine. They delivered great gaming experiences throughout the entirety of this generation to play and enjoy on that machine. Now, have they made some mistakes? Of course they have. Are they going to continue to make mistakes? Of course they are. But that's the main difference between PlayStation and Xbox throughout the entirety of this generation, and why, at this point, in 2019, I feel the need to pretty much freak out on Xbox because they still aren't getting it right. They're still in the position they're in And on top of that, they're still making really incredibly dense decisions like we see with the Xbox One Sat Edition, like we see with a game like Forza Street, like we see with many other things that they've done for the past couple of years that just makes no sense. I've explained that I think the most important thing for PlayStation and the reason for its success is because of the exclusive content it has, the exclusive games. It plays a vital part, in my opinion, to the success of the console, of the brand, and it gives people a reason to recognize it, to acknowledge it, to pay attention, and to support it, most importantly. Xbox just gave that up, and I always had a problem with that, but when I realized that not only did they give that up, but it seems like they just frankly gave up on really trying to save this generation, and by save this generation, I mean actually put something out that blows people's minds, that makes us feel like this is a great gaming experience. I'm not saying that Xbox hasn't had any great gaming experiences, but let's be honest here, people. There's not really anything there that's nearly as compelling as what we have gotten on PlayStation. And so for people who are wondering why people like me and others are actually okay with what we saw with the State of Play event, right? Why we're okay with Sony not attending E3 this year. It's because Sony has done their job, and they did it well. They did what we asked for. They gave us what we wanted. Are they perfect? No. Are there still things that they need to improve on? Of course. Are there things that going into next generation, a lot of us are expecting to see major improvements in some areas where we see that major improvement? Yes. But make no mistake about it, the difference between PlayStation and Xbox and the way people view them and the pass that we're willing to give PlayStation, the benefit of the doubt that we're willing to give PlayStation that we are absolutely not willing to give Xbox, is because Xbox has yet to prove that. And not only, again, reiterating here, not only are they still in that position where they have yet to prove it, but they are continuing to prove that they are in some ways very tone deaf. It was great, and I keep having to say this, it was great to hear the announcement of getting more studios, them acquiring more studios, clearly putting the message out there that they want to create more games, but they haven't proven that they are going to create great games. They haven't proven anything. That's the point. The only thing Microsoft has proven is that they're willing to make a powerful console and sell it, and give, the gamer that aspect that they've been asking for, and that's great. Again, I always have to give credit where credit's due. They deserve credit for doubling down and saying, okay, we kind of messed up big time with the original Xbox One, so let's correct that. But, people want to make it sound like they're out here giving these consoles away for free to make up for their mistakes, and they're not doing that. They're still asking their fan base for $500. Not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm not sitting here making it sound like Microsoft should be handing out free consoles, but at the same time, you guys need to stop making it seem like they're out here giving away free consoles, and that's why we need to hold them up on a high pedestal and celebrate every little thing they do. No, we don't. I don't want to see arcade Halo machines being worked on and being put out to Dave & Buster's. Okay, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see games like Forza Street. I don't want to see games like Sea of Thieves finally becoming the game it should have been, maybe now, halfway through 2019, when it should have been that way at launch. Them wanting to charge $60 for it. I don't want to see that. I really don't. I don't want to see articles coming out about Scalebound and apparently about how Platinum Games is trying to defend Microsoft to a certain extent, or at least saying that, hey, they shouldn't have got all the blame and, it was kind of unfair and it was hard to see that. Listen, they're the ones who canceled it. I don't care what their reasoning is or how justifiable it may have been. You cancel the game, you get the heat. That's how it goes. Regardless of the struggles that the development team may have had and the mistakes they may have had, that's just the way it is. They come out here, they show the game, they flaunt the game, they get people excited, then they have to cancel the game. Again, I don't care. If you're one of these people out here and you want to leave a million different reasons why Microsoft is justified for canceling Scalebound, for shutting down prior studios, that's fine. You're free to do that, but just understand that that's not what people care about at the end of the day. The reasons you're giving, that's not why people care. It doesn't matter how fair or unfair it is. What people care about, what the gamers care about, are getting the great gaming experiences. No excuses. And it's just gotten to a point with Microsoft where, yeah, if anybody thinks I'm going to pass up an opportunity, again, to send a message to them in any way I can, I have this small platform here on YouTube, and I know that there are people who enjoy listening to me, and I greatly appreciate that. But I'm going to take the time to let them know any opportunity I get that feels, within a fair way, in my opinion, of doing so, of letting them know, hey, nobody wants this, Microsoft. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants the Xbox One Sat Edition. Nobody wants Forza Street. Nobody cares about it. This isn't what your fan base cares about. Your fan base cares about you putting out games. And if they're not ready to show, if you're in the early process, then just stay quiet. We're tired of seeing this weird, overreaching attempt to get into the mobile market, to bring on the casuals, to try to make everybody in the world a gamer. Hate to break it to you, Microsoft, not everybody in the world wants to be a gamer. What you should be doing is paying close attention to the fan base, to the people who made Xbox what it is today. And that's why they don't get a pass. That's why you are completely correct if you say that if Microsoft did on their Inside Xbox, if they showed a game like that game Away, which is like you play as a flying squirrel or something like that. I saw somebody say something like that where they said that people would be ripping Xbox if they showed this. You are right. Because you know what? There's a difference between PlayStation having a little 10-minute show and taking a minute, maybe a minute and a half to show this trailer of a new game by a smaller developer. You have to understand what's behind PlayStation, what they have backing that up. The proof is in the pudding. Believe me, the proof is in the pudding in this case. Versus Microsoft wanting to show stuff like this. Listen, Microsoft does it too, and I don't mind. I don't mind whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, whoever, wanting to give smaller devs a platform to show off their games. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand why people are so hard on Xbox. And this is what I don't understand about the fans of Xbox, and some of them, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, because there's a lot of Xbox fans like myself who understand where I'm coming from and agree with where I'm coming from. And I'm not saying everybody needs to agree with me. I'm not saying that you need to request Xbox to be better and to bring out better gaming experiences at the expense of hating games like Crackdown 3. Listen, if you loved Crackdown 3, that's fine. But there's also nothing wrong with you wanting to understand and see that maybe most people didn't love Crackdown 3. And there's actually very valid reasons for that. And because of that, maybe you should also be requesting that Microsoft does more. There's nothing wrong with that. You're talking about an almost $1 trillion company here. Don't sit there and defend them like this. Don't defend them in a way that they don't deserve to. They don't deserve it. They really don't. You need to be demanding better. And I'm not. Final thing I'm going to say here. I'm not making it sound like there haven't been people out here asking for that. Again, if you love Xbox and you bleed green and you're also out here saying you want more and you want better, that's fine. That's great. That's what you should be doing. I'm not saying everybody needs to be as intense as me or as upset as me or everybody should be making rant videos like me. Listen, I am who I am. Everybody has their own opinion and their own stance. But there are those out there who are out here defending Xbox and defending Microsoft over everything, and they look like fools. Like, you want to talk about the actual fanboys? Those are the fanboys. Those are the toxic fanboys who will literally just die on a hill with Xbox if that's what they needed to do. So, yeah. Rant over. I know that this is turning into another one of those videos, but I read comments. People I read comments on my videos. I'm involved in this community, and I see what people have to say, and most people who tuned in to State of Play, I think, understood that there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, it's perfectly fine. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Most people who think about Sony not going to E3 this year, it's very understandable. One last thing I want to say here is I've seen so many people, because recently I made a video talking about Xbox's upcoming E3 show and explaining why I'm really not hyped for it. I'm just not. Doesn't mean I'm not excited at all. I'm excited to see some third-party games, but I'm just not anticipating anything mind-blowing. I'm not anticipating that by the end of their showing I'm going to be like, oh my god, that was amazing. I'm not anticipating that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me for feeling that way. Honestly, I think that that's frankly how most people feel, where, you know, we've seen Xbox's show year after year after year. We've gotten the games that they've been showing year after year after year. There's really nothing here as of right now that I think is really making anybody feel that confident. That doesn't mean we won't see something amazing, but so many people were saying, "Oh, MBG, you're crazy. If Sony had their E3 and they were going to be doing E3 this year, you'd be hyping that thing to no end." Yeah, you're not wrong. And again, it feeds into the entire basis of this conversation. Why do you think that is? Why do you think I would be hyping Sony's E3 if they had one this year? Why do you think I'll be hyping E3 if they're going to be there in 2020? Because the proof is in the pudding. Seriously. The games have been delivered, and they're continuing to be delivered. And I just, it blows my mind, man. It blows my mind. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. It gives me something that I feel is worth talking about here on my channel. I know a lot of you guys like listening to this, and again, I really appreciate it. I like having these conversations, but the whole thing I'm trying to get across in this video is that the reason why, for right now, PlayStation gets a pass on some things that maybe if Microsoft were to do those same things, they wouldn't get a pass. I think the reasoning for that is obvious. But not only that, Sony hasn't really done anything recently that's just like on the same level as what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox One Sat Edition. You know, like Microsoft wants to release a discless version of their console for a ridiculous price. Meanwhile, Sony's out here showing off a new limited edition PS4 for the days of play. You really can't compare the two, and the people who are trying and reaching to make these comparisons, you just look bad. But that does it for the video, guys. Sorry it ended up so long, but you know, once I go on these rants, once I start talking, sometimes I just get carried away. But be sure to leave this video a like if you did enjoy it. Also, be sure to leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you're new and you enjoy content like this. Be sure to share the video out as well. That really helps. And hit the bell notification icon on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.